If we look at the history, all the history of humanity, since the beginning of time, are we moving more or less? Are we moving more leftward or more rightward?
Neither, because what changes is the definition of what's left and what's right.
Okay. Okay. No? What is Michael Sandel's state of mind? Are you optimistic? Are you scared? Are you cautiously optimistic?
I would distinguish between optimism and hope. Given the peril that democracies face in countries around the world, and given the parlous, hollowed state of public discourse, it's very hard to be optimistic. But I do have hope, and the hope arises every time, especially when I travel, but every time when I encounter, especially young people, where I find a hunger, a yearning to engage in a better kind of public discourse than the kind to which we're accustomed. And that hunger, that energy, that passion, that spiritedness that I see, and we had a session yesterday, the INET YSI session at IIT Bombay. The engagement of young people especially in debating big questions and in listening to one another and responding to one another. That gives me hope that we can reimagine the terms of public discourse in a way that lifts up and elevates our arguments rather than leaves us with the shouting matches.
That's wonderful. And I'll also just add to your sort of feelings of hope that even we have seen, getting close to the elections, that the amount of interest there is in intelligent conversation on politics, and there's a reach of it. So just to add to that. Okay. So a reminder maybe, but answer in one line. Why should a party care for a minority?
I need 2 lines.
Okay.
For 2 reasons. First, because one day they too will be in the minority. Second, even more importantly, even if they can't bring themselves to imagine that possibility, respecting the minority is a fundamental condition of the mutual respect on which a decent society depends.
Okay. The one mistake that Indian democracy must learn to avoid from American democracy.
Not allowing money to dominate politics and political campaigns.
The one thing that Indian democracy should learn to emulate from American democracy.
The social equality that we don't fully live up to, but that you described in the charming story you told a moment ago.
Okay. The one thing that American democracy should learn to emulate from Indian democracy.
The spirited passion for politics.
Okay. Equality or liberty, if you choose one?
I can't, because properly understood, they go together. Each depends on the other.
Okay. What is success for Michael Sandel?
Managing to contribute, even modestly, to promoting a better kind of public discourse across countries and across cultures.
Okay. The one secret ingredient to American soft power.
Well, the answer may have changed after January 6th and the attack on the Capitol, which I think startled many people who look to America as a symbol of democracy. But I think the length and I hope the persisting hold of democratic institutions is, and the liberty, this goes back to the previous question, to the freedom that makes possible, not only individual, toxic individualism, individual freedom, but civic freedom, the ability to stand on one's own 2 feet, to speak one's mind as a citizen, as an equal.
Okay.
I think that ideal, though we realize it imperfectly, is an important source of the regard that people have around the world for America.
And would you say that's under threat after Capitol Hill, after Afghanistan, after so many sort of things that are happening in American politics, and even the popularity of Trump in spite of Capitol, the popularity of Trump
Yes.
for this election?
Yeah, and the fact that Trump has persuaded most of the Republican Party
Yes.
that the election was stolen, that's serious, and that does call into question, even beyond the people who attacked the Capitol on January 6th, who were
Yes.
relatively
Yes.
few. The fact that millions of people believe his lie that he really won the election and that it was stolen from him, that's very worrying. And how it plays out is an open question.
Okay. The one magic bullet that can fix social media.
Ban targeted online advertising.
Okay. The one necessary.
That's too radical for some. I think there were some who
The
liked
applause.
it, and there were others
Yeah.
who were not so sure. Okay.
The one necessary condition for being a liberal in the year 2024.
Well, if we mean liberal in the good sense,
Yes.
that and not the desiccated version, the one important thing to being a liberal, a good liberal, is to listen carefully to, rather than vilify those who disagree.
Disagree.
Yeah.
And what's the one condition for being a good conservative? Same answer.
Same answer.
Yeah. Okay. Henry Ford or Elon Musk? Who was Michael Sandel's choice of capitalist?
Am I forced to choose between those two? Well, Henry Ford, there were a lot of problems with Henry Ford. The one thing that would lead me to go for him, though it's restricted, my admiration is limited to this feature of Henry Ford, that he recognized that the best way to develop the auto industry was to pay workers enough so that one day they could buy the Ford car that they were making. There was a deep insight in that, and it's an insight that's lost, I think, on much of capitalism today. Now, Ford was also a notorious anti-Semite, and he had a lot of problems. But in that one respect, as a capitalist, that insight, I think, is worth heeding.
Should intellectuals be on Twitter?
I don't know what happens on Twitter. I've never. Why would they want to be? Why would they want to be?